Considering his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, accumulates 11 million listeners per episode on Spotify, it's most likely that you might have heard the name Joe Rogan once or twice. But what you may not have heard about is the recent controversy surrounding his use of racial slurs and the spread of misinformation regarding COVID-19. This controversy has led many people to boycott Spotify, influenced the host to remove many of his episodes off the platform, and even the CEO of Spotify has spoken out on the topic. So, let's take a deeper look at what's happening. First up, where it all began. It all started on Monday, the 1st of February, when the singer and songwriter India Arie announced that she was pulling her music from Spotify due to Joe Rogan's problematic behavior. She elaborated by saying that it's not just his COVID interviews, but in fact his language around race and Spotify's lack of action against him that dictated her decision. As you may or may not know, in 2020, Spotify acquired exclusive rights to Joe Rogan's podcast for $100 million. I repeat, $100 million. That is a lot of money. This, compared to the fraction of a penny that musicians make on the same platform, definitely does not paint a good picture of where Spotify's interests lie. Later in the week, on Friday, she published a long series of Instagram stories which can now be found in her highlights named Boycott. These stories included a mashup of YouTube videos where Joe Rogan can be found saying the N-word not once, not twice, but about 24 times. The stories also included her remarks as to how he shouldn't even be uttering the word. Don't even say it, under any context. Don't say it. That's where I stand. I've always stood there. But what was really the critical blow was the video of Joe's attempt at a joke by referring to black neighbors as Planet of the Apes. Ooh, perhaps a bit too far, Joe. In response to this, many other artists like Neil Young, Young's former bandmates, and Joni Mitchell have asked to get their music pulled off the platform. But what has Spotify's response been thus far? Next, let's take a look at Spotify's response. Upon visiting the podcast on Spotify, you'll come to find that about 70 of Joe Rogan's episodes are missing. However, that was not actually Spotify's doing, but the host's own decision, as Daniel Ek, CEO of the company, clarified in his message to his employees. Furthermore, #delete Spotify and #cancel Spotify hashtags continue to blow up, and according to a February 1st consumer poll conducted by Forrester Research, 19% of users said they've already canceled their subscription. Things definitely started getting serious for Spotify after this. Despite the sticky situation Joe Rogan has left them in, Spotify is not quite yet ready to sever their ties with him. Elk said, "While I strongly condemn what Joe has said, and I agree with his decision to remove past episodes from our platform, I realize some will want more." He continued, "And I want to make one point very clear. I do not believe that silencing Joe is the answer." Quite a twist, right? It's clear from X's message that Spotify stands to defend Joe Rogan, but they have taken some actions. They've issued platform rules where content creators need to provide viewer discretion about the discussion of COVID-19. But how will they deal with other content where racial slurs are commonly used? That is still unknown to us. Now, let's hop across the river to the other side of the story and see what Joe Rogan has to say. Let's discuss Rogan's apology. Regarding all this controversy, on February 5th, Joe finally came out with a 5-minute video on Instagram addressing everything. He said it was the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. He continued to address how the instances may have been taken out of context, yet they look horrible, even to me. He defended himself by mentioning that the videos date back to 12 years ago, and he's not used the word in many years. Moreover, according to him, many instances were of him referring to the use of the word by other black and white comedians and not his own use. Fair argument. Regardless of these comments, he did own up to his mistake and expressed, "It's not my word to use. I am well aware of that now, but for years I used it in that manner. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist." People do indeed change, and this could be the case with Joe over the countless years of this podcast. Next up, we take a look at Rogan's support. One cannot deny that the situation does not look good, right? Well, surprisingly, it's not totally over for Joe Rogan. The same survey, which stated that 19% of people have canceled their subscription, also stated that 54% have no intention of taking any action. Last we checked, 54 is significantly greater than 19, so Joe has a chance at redemption. Aside from that, many celebrities have shown direct and indirect support towards Joe. Elon Musk liked a tweet by Lex Friedman defending Joe. He later replied in a typical Elon fashion with a meme related to censoring Joe. The Grown Ups actor and comedian Kevin James tweeted out saying, "Joe, we go back, way back, and all these years I've known you to be nothing but objective and seeking the truth. Thank you. Love you, brother." Russell Peters also tweeted saying he loves Joe for who he is and not for what people think he is. Now those are some deep words. Ben Shapiro tweeted saying that people do not actually care about what Joe said in the past, but it is just a bunch of activists taking the opportunity to destroy a guy. Classic Vin words. Lastly, the American singer Jewel commented on Joe's Instagram post saying, "You're doing a great job. Keep it up." With all the support, it does seem likely that Joe may be able to bounce back from all the controversy, but we're yet to see what the future may hold. Now, in other UFC news, we don't know about you, but we here feel exhausted with all that heavy controversial news. Let's move on and explore everything else that's going on in the UFC world. Adesanya versus Whitaker. The ring in UFC 271 is about to get hot. The highly anticipated rematch between current middleweight champ Israel Adesanya and former champ Robert Whitaker has been scheduled for the 12th of February this year, and boy, have we been waiting for this one. In their last encounter, which was in 2019, Adesanya cleanly knocked out Whitaker in the second round in front of a massive crowd of over 57,000 people, replacing him as the UFC middleweight champion. After the fight, Whitaker had gone into a slump and, according to his own words, was as close as someone could be to retirement. He stopped enjoying the game and everything else he had been doing for so long, but after a short break of about a month, he felt the itch to step back into the octagon once again. Now that's Whitaker for you. Since then, Whitaker has improved a lot, as observed in his fights with Cannonier, Teal, and Gastelum. Now is his chance to get his hands on sweet payback. Fans all over the world are desperately waiting for the fight, as polarization between the fan base continues to grow, with some betting on the defending champion while others show full support towards the former middleweight boss. Jack Hermansson's creative response to defeat against Sean Strickland. This month's UFC Vegas 47 was a roller coaster ride of emotions. The first 4 rounds had their ups and downs, after which Hermansson tried to pick up the pace and push for takedowns using some of his patented offensive maneuvers, but Strickland neutralized each and every attack his opponent threw at him, most of the time not even letting him get close enough to attack. That was surely a sight to see. Hermansson continued with his final push up until the time the fight was over. This resilience convinced at least one judge towards him, but the other 2 did not share the same view, resulting in a split decision win in favor of Sean Tarzan Strickland, who is now on a 6-fight winning streak. Impressive, right? Both the contenders seemed to be unsatisfied with their performance, with Hermansson creatively apologizing on Instagram in the form of poetry. He wrote, "I'm sorry fans about tonight. I had a bad performance and I lost the fight. It wasn't pretty or technically sound. I couldn't get the bastard to the ground. Sorry Sean, this one went to a decision. Best of luck to murder your next competition." Even if the guy couldn't perform that well in the fight, we still must give him credit for this. Strickland even replied to Hermansson's lyrical masterpiece, calling him a true warrior and hoping for them to meet again. Conor McGregor's excessive drinking gets fans worried. In other news, Conor McGregor got fans worried over a picture of him with a table loaded with drinks, including several glasses of whiskey and tins of cocktails at his pub in Dublin. Concerned fans tried telling him to get up and focus on his training instead of wasting away in a bar. Whether he listened or not is still unknown, but guess that's just Conor McGregor for you. That about wraps it up for today. Do let us know your thoughts down below, and a rating would be much appreciated. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.